She thought it was a mission, not a royal wedding. So, she wore battle armor. Commander Sarah Chen stood in the briefing room at Earth Defense Headquarters, staring at the holographic message floating before her eyes. The symbols shifted and rearranged themselves as the translation software worked to decode the alien text. Commander Chen, General Martinez said from across the table, "You've been specifically requested by the Valtorian Empire. This is a significant honor." Dr. Ad nodded to the public. This is a significant honor. Her military training keeping her face neutral. She had fought in 3 major conflicts during humanity's expansion into the galaxy. She had led troops through impossible situations and never backed down from a challenge. Whatever this mission was, she would handle it. The message mentions a ceremonial unity event. The general continued. Our diplomatic team believes this is a military alliance ceremony. The Valtorians want to formalize their partnership with Earth, and they've requested our finest warrior to represent us. Understood, sir, Sarah replied. When do I leave? Tomorrow morning. Pack your dress uniform and your ceremonial armor. Make Earth proud, Commander. Sarah spent that evening preparing her equipment. Her powered armor gleamed under the workshop lights as she checked each system. The exosuit had saved her life dozens of times. Its silver-blue plating bore the symbols of Earth and the Marine Corps. She polished her ceremonial sword, a blade forged from metals found on 3 different worlds. If the Valtorians wanted Earth's finest warrior, they would get exactly that. The journey to Valtoria Prime took 3 days through faster-than-light travel. Sarah used the time to study what little information Earth had about Valtorian culture. They were an old species, ancient compared to humanity. Their empire spanned 12 star systems. They valued tradition, honor, and ceremony above almost everything else. When her shuttle descended through Valtoria Prime's purple-tinted atmosphere, Sarah got her first look at the capital city. Towers of crystalline silver stretched toward the sky. Gardens filled with bioluminescent plants created rivers of light between the buildings. It was beautiful in a way that made Earth's cities look young and rough by comparison. The landing pad was crowded with Valtorian officials. They were tall and elegant, with skin that shifted through subtle shades of blue and green. Their robes seemed to flow like water, covered in intricate patterns that Sarah guessed held cultural meaning. Sarah stepped off the shuttle in her full combat armor. The powered exosuit hummed softly as she moved. Her helmet was mag-locked to her hip, and her sword hung at her side. She had painted Earth's symbol on her right shoulder plate and added the Valtorian star pattern on her left as a sign of respect. The reaction was not what she expected. The Valtorian officials stared at her. Several took steps backward. One individual, wearing robes so elaborate they must have been important, made a choking sound. Their skin flashed through colors Sarah had never seen before. Bright orange, then pale yellow, then a sickly gray. "Welcome, human warrior," a Valtorian said in hesitant English. The translator implant behind Sarah's ear refined the words. "We are honored by your presence. Please, follow us to the Grand Cathedral." Something felt wrong. Sarah's combat instincts honed through years of battle were sending warning signals through her mind. The Valtorians were not treating her like a military representative. They looked scared, confused, and some even appeared angry. The group moved through the city in silence. Citizens stopped to watch as Sarah passed. Their skin rippled with colors, some curious, some shocked. Children pointed at her armor while their parents pulled them back. Sarah kept her expression calm, but internally, she was running through scenarios. Had there been a threat she wasn't briefed about? Was there tension between Earth and Valtoria that intelligence had missed? The Grand Cathedral rose before them like a mountain of crystal. 10,000 seats formed a semicircle around a central platform. Every seat was filled. Cameras from news agencies across the galaxy floated through the air. Their lenses focused on the entrance where Sarah stood. "Commander Chen," the official beside her whispered. "Please proceed to the ceremonial position." Sarah walked forward, her boots echoing on the crystal floor. The crowd fell silent. At the center of the platform stood a Valtorian male, younger than the officials she had met. He wore robes of deep purple and silver, adorned with crystals that caught the light and threw rainbows across the cathedral. His skin was a calm blue-green, but his eyes were wide with what Sarah recognized as surprise. This must be Prince Kaiseth, she
You
thought.
built nothing, you
Earth's
stole it
briefing
all.
had
And
mentioned the
what have you done?
Veltorian
We
heir would be
fought.
present at the ceremony. The High Chamberlain, an elderly Veltorian with silver patterns across their skin, stepped
queen,
forward.
a
They
human
began
courtship period
speaking
could
in
be
the
a compromise.
Veltorian language.
courtship
Sarah's
period
translator
in
worked
human
to keep
tradition.
up. We are gathered
Is
here
this an
today
Earth
to
dating
witness the
tradition?
sacred union of
Yes, it is.
Death
It allows
Ross.
us to get to know each other.
Union.
My
Sarah's
queen.
blood ran cold. Prince Kaiseth of the
honors
Veltorian
our
Empire
dignity and
and
forms
Commander
our-
Sarah Chen of Earth in the bonds of wedding. This was a wedding. Her wedding. The High
30
Chamberlain
days
looked at
for the
Sarah's
alliance.
armored form
30 days,
and
I
suddenly understood what had happened. Their skin flashed white
galaxy,
and they
I announce
collapsed
our
to the
union.
floor in a
This public
faint.
courtship
The
heralds a new
cathedral
era of
erupted in
alliance and strength.
chaos.
Your recovery
Voices
is a
rose in a
joy.
dozen languages. Prince
I would be
Kaiseth
honored, my
stared at Sarah
Then
with
it
an
is
expression
arranged.
of absolute
From our
horror.
balconies, we
Cameras
have watched
zoomed
your
in,
world evolve.
broadcasting the moment
me
across
explain
40
the
star
pillars of our
systems.
civilization.
Sarah's communication
I hope
device
you have
buzzed
enjoyed your
urgently.
time
A message from Earth's
I have.
ambassador appeared.
Thank you.
Do
I have.
not move. Do not speak.
Majesty.
Do not cause an intergalactic incident.
words of your
We are
embassy, we
working
stand
on
in.
this. Sarah stood
Queen, shall we
frozen in
spar?
her battle
Human
armor at
tradition.
what was
Custom I
supposed to be
accept.
her
Lead
wedding,
on.
facing a
stretch
prince
first.
she had
Proceed.
never met, while the galaxy
I
watched
have
and
brought
waited
together
to see what the human would do next. The emergency meeting took place in a private
have a
chamber
musical
behind the
thought to
cathedral.
share.
Sarah sat in her
Musical thought?
armor,
All right,
helmet
let's hear it.
removed, while diplomats from both worlds argued in hushed, urgent voices. Prince Kaiseth sat across from her, his purple robes looking somehow less magnificent in the plain room. How did this happen? Sarah asked quietly.
Shall we start
Ambassador
with a
Wilson,
simpler coffee?
Earth's chief diplomat
Yes,
on
that sounds
Veltoria
like a good
Prime,
plan.
wiped sweat from his forehead. The
You are
Veltorian
recovering
marriage
well.
proposal was
Thanks
sent
to you.
through official channels
your
3
wound?
months ago.
Healing.
Our
We must talk.
translation AI
Our
interpreted
xenobiologists have studied your
ceremonial
planet's
unity
evolution
requiring
extensively.
finest
Their research
representative
explains much
as
about
a
your
military
civilization's
alliance
strength.
treaty.
Your adaptability
We thought they
intrigues
wanted
me.
a symbolic
Our
warrior
mutual
presence.
interest
And
could reshape
what did they
destinies.
actually send?
Necessity
Sarah
is harsh
asked,
on Earth.
though she already knew the
Extreme weather
answer.
and predators
A marriage
test human
proposal,
strengths.
Wilson admitted. In Veltorian culture, when royal families seek alliances with new species, they offer marriage bonds. It's their highest
the
form of
analysis is
diplomatic
promising.
connection.
Elaborate
Kaiseth
tactical
spoke for the
variables.
first time since the
Environmental factors
cathedral
could shift the
disaster.
outcome.
His English was
Your human
accented but
tactics have
clear.
impressed us.
My parents
The respect
arranged this
between our
without
peoples
consulting
grows.
me. I learned about my bride only yesterday. I was told Earth had accepted and was sending their chosen representative. He looked at Sarah's armor. I did not expect a warrior. I didn't expect a wedding, Sarah replied. An elderly
down.
Veltorian advisor
What was
stepped
that?
forward.
An attack.
The
Stay close.
ceremony has been broadcast across the galaxy. Both worlds are watching. If we cancel now, it will be seen as a grave
Our
insult.
civilization has thrived
The
from
alliance
Stay
our
down.
governments hope
Guards,
to build
neutralize
will
them.
collapse
Two
before it
neutralized, one
begins.
pinned.
Sarah felt anger rising in her chest. She had fought for Earth, bled for Earth, lost friends defending humanity's place among the stars. Now she was being asked to marry a stranger to save a political arrangement she had never agreed
The armor
to.
is
There must
appropriate
be
after all.
another way,
I
she said
understand.
firmly.
Thank you.
Kaiseth nodded. I agree. I will
can't
not
sleep,
force
the memories
anyone
keep
into
recurring.
marriage, alliance,
Rest.
or not. The
investigation starts
Veltorian
now.
advisor's skin shifted to a
analysis.
worried orange.
The alien
Perhaps
queen
there is a
contempt element.
compromise.
This
A
requires a
human
great
tradition,
presence.
yes? You have courtship periods before marriage?
Sarah saw the opening. Yes.
On Earth, people
Report
date
confirms it.
before they
The Admiral
marry.
is suspect.
They spend time
Council
together,
succession is
learn
at
about
risk.
each
We must
other,
act.
decide if they're compatible.
My queen.
Then we
must
propose
speak
this to
privately.
both worlds.
Very well. What troubles
The
you?
advisor said
The attack
quickly.
is imminent.
A
We need a
formal
plan.
courtship
The
period.
archives are secure.
It
We can
honors
investigate
human
freely.
tradition
I appreciate
while
the privacy.
maintaining
Where do we begin?
Veltorian
With the data
dignity.
course.
The
Human,
final
our
wedding can be
advancements are not
scheduled
random.
after a proper
This data
time of
pad holds
acquaintance.
centuries of
It
regret,
was not
not
freedom,
chance.
but it was time. Time to
The shuttle
find a
malfunction
real
raises
solution.
concerns. The incidents with
Sarah
the
looked
food
at
supply
Kaiseth,
confirm my
who looked
paranoia.
equally trapped but also relieved at the delay. How long? Sarah asked. 30 days, Ambassador Wilson said. 1 month to
To our
either
successful
proceed with the
alliance.
wedding or find an alternative that
understanding
satisfies
between our
both
worlds.
governments. Sarah and
The
Kaiseth
first clue,
exchanged
the
glances.
gardens.
The prince
Meeting
gave a
confirmed.
small nod.
The
30
breakthrough.
days,
Proof we need.
Sarah agreed.
Queen, the
The
delegation
announcement
has
was
arrived.
made to the waiting
Your arrival is
galaxy.
anticipated.
The armored bride
Coded
and the
messages are
Veltorian
secure.
prince would observe a human courtship
Palace
tradition.
compromise.
Media outlets
We must
called it
proceed with
romantic.
caution.
Sarah called it a strategic retreat.
We need to
The
gather more
first week was a
intelligence
series
and
of
allies.
cultural
Agreed.
disasters.
Our alliance must be
Kaiseth
strong to
invited
counter this.
Sarah to the Royal
What is your
Garden
plan,
of
tactical
Reflection,
expert?
a sacred place
Flanking
where
maneuver through the
Veltorians
East
meditated
Corridor.
through color and
Proceed.
song. He had arranged a
The wedding is
poetry
our combat
recital
op.
where
We have
emotions
15
were
days.
expressed through
A
skin
bold
pattern
strategy.
changes
What is the
and
risk?
musical
Failure's
tones.
not an option. I
Sarah sat
understand
in
your
her regular
pretense of
clothes.
normalcy.
She had
In
finally
my
gotten out of
civilization,
the
such
armor
subtleties are the
and
foundation
watched,
of power.
understanding
We must
nothing.
identify the loyal
Her human
counter this
skin remained
conspiracy.
stubbornly
Agreed, I'll start mapping the
one
network.
color.
Good.
She
Guard
felt
against
completely out of
My
place.
queen, we have
Did you
traveled for
enjoy the
3 days.
performance?
Your arrival is timely.
Kaiseth
Are your men
asked
prepared?
hopefully
Yes, my
afterward.
queen.
It was
To our
very
alliance
colorful,
and the evidence we
Sarah
gather.
said,
And
trying
mapping
to
our
be
networks.
polite.
Comes
The
with
next
track,
day,
coup proceeds.
Sarah invited
full
Kaiseth
scope
to
of
what
your
she
treachery
called
is
a
revealed.
friendly
What
sparring
treachery? I don't
session.
understand.
She
The
meant
arranged
combat
mistranslation
training,
was
a
sabotage.
way soldiers bonded
He
on Earth.
underestimated
Kaiseth
us.
arrived at the training hall carrying a stringed instrument, having translated
You
sparring
underestimate.
through his cultural
I have
lens
doubted,
as
and
sharing
perhaps
of
it was
arts.
your admiration.
He found Sarah in exercise clothes, standing in a combat ring, stretching. I brought my kithara, he said,
Guards,
holding up
take
the
positions.
instrument.
Flank the
I
shells.
thought we would share
Understood. Ready
musical
for the drill.
talents.
Peak readiness, no
Sarah
lapses.
looked at the instrument, then at the confusion on
advances, we
Kaiseth's
must be ready.
face,
I'm with
and
you. We
suddenly
fight together.
laughed.
Your own
She could not
And
help
your
it.
strength unites
The
us.
absurdity of the entire situation.
afraid?
A wedding that was not a wedding. A courtship that was not a courtship. And now this
I admit I always
misunderstanding,
feel fear keeps
it
me
was
sharp
too
ready.
much.
A warrior is
After a
trained for
moment,
this. Fear hones
Kaiseth
the
began
blade.
laughing too. His skin shifted to a
Flashing with my
warm
own
golden
wedding first, a
color
true
that
one.
Sarah's database said meant amusement. We are terrible at this, Sarah said, wiping tears from her eyes. Absolutely terrible, Kaiseth agreed.
Me too.
Perhaps we
Tomorrow,
should start
together.
simpler. What do humans do when they simply want to talk? Usually, coffee, Sarah said, or whatever the local equivalent is. They found a quiet cafe in the Palace District. Away from cameras and advisors, they talked like two normal people trapped in an abnormal situation. Kaiseth explained that he was a xenobiologist, a scientist who
civilization's
studied
tactical
alien
displays
life
track
forms.
threats with precision.
He had spent
Observe
years
heat
researching
signatures reveal
Earth's
weapons
evolutionary
concealed in those
history.
robes.
Your species fascinates me, he admitted. You went from simple tools to starships in just 10,000 years. Most species take 50 times longer. Your adaptability is extraordinary. Sarah found herself actually interested. What do you think causes it? Necessity, Kaiseth
stand at the
said.
threshold
Earth
of
is a
unity,
harsh
where
world
our
compared to
vows
most.
run.
Your
We forge
planet has
unbreakable
extreme
bond.
weather, dangerous
I do. The bond
predators,
is accepted.
diseases,
Half of
natural
our vows are
disasters. Humanity evolved to survive constant
Human, you
challenges.
accept this display.
It made you flexible,
I accept,
creative,
but I have
stubborn.
concerns.
Stubborn is definitely
Everyone
accurate,
down!
Sarah
Lights
said
out!
with a smile. Over the following days, they continued meeting. Sometimes they
They're sealing
discussed
the exits.
science and strategy.
Shields are
Kaiseth was
activating.
impressed when Sarah analyzed
is
his
set.
favorite tactical games and pointed out improvements to standard Veltorian military doctrine. Sarah discovered that Kaiseth was not some pampered royal.
Activate the
He had
loyals
studied
now.
combat,
The battle
philosophy,
begins.
and
Deploy at
biology.
once.
He had earned his position
Protect the
through merit,
throne.
not
I'm
just
with
birth.
you.
On the 15th day of their courtship, everything changed. They were walking through the palace gardens when Sarah's combat instinct screamed a warning. She saw the shimmer in the air half a second before the assassin materialized. Energy weapons powered up with a distinctive whine. Sarah moved without thinking. She grabbed Kaiseth and pulled him down as energy bolts scorched the air where his head had been. Her hand found the small pistol she always carried, old habit from her military days.
Ours not theirs.
She returned
the tide
fire,
turns now.
driving the attackers into cover. "Stay down," she ordered, her voice shifting into command mode. Palace guards arrived within seconds,
Admiral is
but
escaping.
Sarah had
Then we
already
pursue.
neutralized
Follow
two
me.
attackers
This
and
way.
pinned down
We're
the
gaining.
third. When security
This is
took
the final
over,
stand.
Kaiseth
I
stared
won't
at her
yield.
with new
We fight together,
understanding.
or we
"You
fall."
saved my life," he said
Primitive
quietly.
humans have ruined
"It's what I do,"
everything.
Sarah
Breed and
replied,
wild view of
checking
face
him
and
for
susceptible
injuries.
mischief.
Her hands were steady
Your shields
despite
will
the
not
adrenaline.
save you, human.
That evening,
My shields
Kaiseth
absorb
sent
your
her a
fire.
message.
This is strategy,
Perhaps your
not
battle
politics.
armor was not
Your
so
defiance is
inappropriate
over,
after
Admiral.
all.
Guard,
A
secure
warrior
him
bride
now.
might be
You have no
exactly what
authority.
The
Veltoria
clash ends
needs.
here.
The students
Lights are
speak
online,
every time
damage
she
is shown,
spoke.
civilians
Work,
are safe.
work, work, generally. Sarah could not sleep
queen,
that
the
night.
ceremony is
The
interrupted.
assassination
Speak,
attempt
Chamberlain, what
played
has
through her
happened?
mind
A dire threat
repeatedly.
approaches.
She had fought enough battles to recognize when something
queen,
felt
I have
wrong.
arrived.
And this
You have
felt
let our
very
vows
wrong.
continue.
At 3 in the morning, she sat at her desk in the guest quarters and began analyzing the attack. The palace security team had called it a random extremist
Yes,
action,
I will.
people who opposed the human-Veltorian alliance. But Sarah's tactical training told her a
The vows
different
are
story.
complete.
The attackers had known exactly where to
Now,
wait. They
will
had used
explain our
military-grade
ways.
cloaking technology,
You turned to me
not
with
the
a
cheap
smile, my
equipment that
human. Is our
extremists
married
could
like to your
afford.
It is, my
Most
queen,
importantly,
more than I imagined.
they had tried to kill
I vow to
Kaiseth,
protect
not
this realm
her.
with
If
every
they
breath.
truly opposed the
No
alliance,
clash our forges
why
and
not
break our
target the
bond.
human? Sarah pulled
To
up
our
her
alliance,
personal
forged
communication
in
device
fire.
and sent
And
an
to the coup
encrypted
we
message
stopped.
to her
May our
old unit
friendship
back on
endure.
Earth. Need background
verdict is
check on
unanimous.
Valtorian
Guilty of
politics.
treason and murder.
Who benefits
this
if
can't be
Prince
happening.
Kaiseth
Justice is
dies?
served.
The response
My
came 2
parents are
hours
safe.
later.
We are grateful.
Captain Rodriguez,
honor.
her former
I'm glad they're
second in
safe.
command, had
We thank
compiled a detailed report. Sarah read through it with growing concern. If Kaiseth died without an heir, succession would pass to the Grand
stand
Council.
together.
The council
As
was
one,
currently
rank
dominated
intact.
by Grand
For the
Admiral
balance.
Thexus, a military leader who had opposed every human alliance proposal for years. Thexus believed humans were dangerous,
My proposal
unpredictable,
details our
and
evolution
unworthy of
against hostile
partnership with the
environments.
ancient
Impressive, this partnership
Feltorian
will change
Empire.
everything.
Sarah needed
Precisely.
more information,
Our civilization
but she
has
also
thrived
needed
for
help.
millennia,
She sent a
blending
message
ancient
to
wisdom with
Kaiseth.
magical prowess.
We need to talk, privately. It's about the attack. They met in the Royal Archives, a vast library deep within the
We request
palace.
your finest
Kaiseth had
consultants to
assured
study
her
our
that this
doctrines
room
and
was
modernize
not
our military.
monitored.
This will
Even the
elevate
royal
humanity.
family respected the privacy of scholars who worked here. You think the attack was not random? Kaiseth said. It was not a question.
Good.
I know it wasn't, Sarah
Marriage would make us
replied.
better for each
She
other.
showed him her research on her datapad.
On
The
this day,
equipment
we
was
honor
too
our
advanced.
alliance.
The timing
It is my
was
honor
too
to stand with
perfect.
you.
And they
Together we are
specifically
stronger.
targeted you,
Welcome
not
to the
me.
family.
Kaiseth's skin shifted to a
waited
dark
for
blue,
this.
the color of
We are
deep
together
thought.
now.
I have
Take
been
care of
having
yourself.
similar
I will.
concerns.
And you
There
as
have been
well.
other
Answer me this,
incidents
can
during
we
the
win?
past
We
months.
must.
Small
I
things that
promise on
seemed
my
like
skin, which
accidents.
carries the purple
A
of our
shuttle
minds, to honor you
malfunction,
every day for saving my
contaminated
life in
food,
this
a
world.
security system failure. All targeting you? Yes, I thought I was being paranoid. But now,
Welcome,
he
human.
gestured at
I love
Sarah's
your
data.
enthusiasm.
Grand Admiral
Thank you, Your Majesty.
Thexus.
It's wonderful.
Let me
You think he
explain
is
our
behind
civilization.
this? He has
These
motive
charts
and
reveal
means,
paths impossible
Sarah
before
said.
our alliance.
But
Indeed,
we
strong
need
union.
proof,
Precisely.
real
Proceed.
evidence, not
Agreed.
just suspicion.
Do you
Kaiseth
ever
was
regret
quiet for a
the
long
choices
moment,
we were
then his
forced to
skin
make?
shifted to a determined green. I can access the palace security network. My clearance allows me to review all footage and communications.
I'm
If there is
glad we
evidence,
did.
we will find it. They worked through the night. Kaiseth navigated the Veltorian systems while
Welcome,
Sarah
human
applied her
delegation.
intelligence training
Let
to
this
pattern
meeting forge a
recognition.
path of trust.
They made a
Warriors
surprisingly
of both
effective
worlds,
team.
we
His
stand
knowledge of
united
the
in this
palace
last
systems combined with her
Vantiva had one
tactical
fine crown on our
analysis.
alliance.
At dawn, they found the first
Your
real
pride
clue,
honors
a
us.
communication
Thank you,
between a palace guard and an unknown contact,
Human,
sent 3
what is
days
your
before the
kind's
garden
greatest
attack.
strength?
Our
The message was
resilience we have to
encrypted,
overcome.
but
We shall
Kaiseth's
see.
royal access
Your
codes
stubbornness
broke
in
through
war
the
blinds you
security.
to the truth.
Meeting confirmed.
But for
The
you, that
target will
victory
be in the
remains
East Gardens at
impossible.
the scheduled time.
I must
Payment
admit your
upon
stubbornness has
completion.
brought us fear.
That's
And for that,
conspiracy
I'm
to
grateful.
commit murder, Sarah
We are
said
not separate.
quietly.
We are together.
They dug deeper.
Together, how
More
can
messages
that be?
appeared,
This
all
is how.
pointing to a coordinated network within the palace
To our new
itself.
alliance, forged
Guards,
among the stars.
advisors,
And to the
even
future
some
we built
members of the
together.
diplomatic corps were involved. And at the center of it all, coded references to someone called the Admiral. We need to take this to your parents, Sarah said. The Emperor and Empress need to know. No, Kaiseth said sharply. His skin flashed red. Anger. Not yet. Think about it strategically, Commander. If Thexus has people throughout the palace, he will know the moment we make an official report. He will destroy evidence, eliminate witnesses, and we will have nothing but our suspicions. Sarah nodded slowly. He was right. Then what do you suggest? We gather more evidence.
carries the
We
legacy of our
identify
world's
everyone
human.
involved.
On
And we
it, and you
prepare for
honor
whatever
our alliance.
Thexus is planning next. Kaiseth looked at her with respect. You are the tactical expert. What
Our
would you do in a
empire
military
spans the
situation
stars.
like this?
Our history is
Sarah
forged
thought
in
about it
light.
like a combat operation.
Memorize
We
these
need
phrases of
intelligence,
respect.
allies we
Memorize
can
the phrases
trust,
of respect.
and a counter
They
strategy.
ensure our life.
The wedding is in 15 days. That's probably his deadline. Maximum political impact if something goes wrong during the ceremony. So, we use the wedding as bait, Kaiseth said, understanding immediately. We pretend everything is normal. We let him make his move, and we are ready for it. It was risky. It was dangerous. It was exactly the kind of plan Sarah had executed dozens of times in combat. We'll need help, she said. People we know are loyal. Can you identify palace guards who are definitely not compromised? Yes, Commander Zelfar of the Royal Guard.
Welcome,
She
honored
served my
guests. This
family
is
for
our
30
world.
years.
Thank you.
I
Our
would trust her
civilization
with
is
my
ancient.
life.
Let me explain.
Good. I'll contact my Marine unit back on Earth. They can be here in 3 days, disguised as wedding guests or security personnel.
What is
Over the
that?
next week,
Curiosity
Sarah and
is
Kaiseth built their counter-conspiracy in secret. They identified 12 palace guards loyal to the crown. Sarah's Marines arrived quietly, posing as Earth's diplomatic security team. They collected evidence, tracked communications, and mapped out Thexus's network.
Delegation is assembled.
They also discovered the
Understood. We
full
proceed as
scope of the
planned.
Maintain
plan.
position.
Thexus intended to use the wedding ceremony itself as the stage for his coup. With representatives from 100 worlds present, he would arrange Kaiseth's death and blame it on human treachery. The scandal would destroy the alliance, discredit the royal family for choosing humans as partners, and allow Thexus to seize power in the chaos.
Chamberlain
He had
speaks.
even arranged the
Valtorian
original
translator
mistranslation that
The
brought
human
Sarah to
recovers. We
Valtoria
watch.
in armor. The cultural embarrassment
union
was
of our
supposed
worlds
to
is
poison
inevitable.
human
Your kind
Valtorian
will be
relations
at the
before
achievement of
they
our
truly
shared destiny.
began. He had not expected
The
Sarah
sacred
and
union
Kaiseth to
between our
actually
species
attempt the
is
courtship.
humanity, is
He
now.
underestimated us, Sarah said as they reviewed the final pieces of evidence. He underestimated you, Kaiseth corrected. He thinks humans are primitive and predictable. He does not
Silence, I
understand what I
demand
have
order.
learned these past weeks. What's that? That humanity's greatest strength is adaptation. You do not follow the expected path. You see problems from angles no one else considers. You survive because you refuse to accept defeat. Kaiseth's skin showed
urgent
colors
message from
Sarah
Earth.
had learned to
Panic control
recognize.
protocol initiated.
Respect, admiration, and something else she was not quite ready to name. So we give him what he doesn't expect, Sarah said. A bride in battle armor, who's ready for war. Will you really wear your armor to the wedding? Kaiseth
must act now.
asked.
The situation
Sarah
is dire.
smiled,
I know,
and it
but
was
we are
not a
compromised.
Then we
kind
proceed
smile.
with caution.
It was the
Damage
smile of a
control.
Marine
You see
commander
these
preparing
robes?
for
A plain
combat.
contrast to our faded
Absolutely.
glory. Yet in
If
equality
Thedesis
we
wants a
find new
spectacle,
strength.
let's give him one he'll never
How
forget.
did
They
this
spent the
happen?
final days preparing. Sarah drilled with her Marines, running combat scenarios in the cathedral
My queen, I
layout.
must admit,
Kaiseth
fault
coordinated
error in
with
our
Commander
AI systems
Zelthar,
has come
positioning
from us.
loyal
This is a
guards
grave
at key
admission.
points. They could
You
not
knew the
arrest
answer to the
Thexus
proposal
yet.
all along,
They
didn't
needed
you?
to catch him
I
in the
did.
act, with
was
witnesses and evidence that could not be denied.
admit it, the marriage
On the night
proposal is
before the
integral to our
wedding,
culture.
Sarah and
This
Kaiseth
single act
stood
changes
together on a
everything between
palace
our
balcony,
species.
looking out
My
over the
parents
city
arranged
lights.
this. I only
Are
learned
you
yesterday.
afraid?
I am a
Kaiseth
victim of
asked
this,
quietly.
just as you are.
Always, Sarah admitted. Fear keeps you sharp, but I'm also ready. This is what I was trained for. Fighting at your
This
own
is our
wedding?
last stand. There will be no
Sarah
wedding.
laughed.
No
Well,
wedding. I was hoping
that's a
for a mirror.
first. But defending people
Your
who can't
reign is
defend
built on
themselves,
illusions, Queen.
that's what I've
How
always
dare you
done.
speak to me?
Kaiseth's
The
skin
truth
shifted
demands
through
it.
warm colors.
My
I'm
anger
glad you
arises
came
for the
here,
friends we
Sarah
court.
Chen.
We stand firm. There
Even
is
if
no
it was
other
all
way.
a terrible mistake. Me too,
Our
Sarah
civilizations
said,
will not
surprising
force this
herself
marriage.
with the honesty of it.
Duty is
Tomorrow,
set
we
aside.
finish
My
this.
queen honor their
The
courtship
morning of the
traditions.
wedding
It is quick
arrived
but
with
vital
purple
to the
skies and
alliance.
golden
We shall
sunlight.
proceed with honor.
Sarah stood in her
I
quarters,
see the opening.
looking at her
The date
reflection
confirms
in the mirror.
compatibility.
Her
Yes,
battle
this
armor
time will
gleamed
allow
with
us to
fresh
gain
polish.
understanding.
She had spent hours preparing it, adding ceremonial touches while maintaining full combat capability. The armor's silver blue plating now bore both Earth's symbol and Valtoria's star pattern, painted in colors that would honor both worlds. Her helmet rested on the table beside her, its display systems running final diagnostics.
I agree.
The ceremonial
30
sword at her
days.
hip was sharp
Firm.
enough for actual combat, not just decoration.
Hear this announcement.
Commander
Combat
Chen,
troop should be-
Captain Rodriguez's voice came through her communication implant. All teams are in position. We have eyes on the cathedral from 6 different angles. Copy that, Sarah replied quietly. Remember, we wait for them to make the first move. We need clear
I hope you
evidence of the
enjoyed
conspiracy.
performance.
Understood. Good luck, ma'am. Try not to get married in the middle of a firefight. Sarah smiled despite her nervousness. No promises, Captain. The Grand Cathedral looked even more magnificent than it had a month ago. Flowers from a dozen worlds decorated every surface. Holographic displays floated through the air, broadcasting the ceremony to billions of viewers across the galaxy. 10,000 guests filled the crystal seats, representing hundreds of worlds and species. Sarah's tactical display, integrated into her helmet visor, tracked everything. She identified Thexus's people scattered throughout the crowd. 20 confirmed conspirators
I agree.
wearing formal
This
robes
situation
that
is
hid
absolutely
weapons.
terrible.
More were
Let's keep it
probably
simple
hidden
and
among
just
the
talk.
staff and guards. Ambassador Wilson
This is
met
a
her
peaceful
at the
hideaway.
cathedral entrance.
Indeed.
He looked at her
Private
armor
oasis.
and
Sharing
sighed.
it makes it
I
better.
suppose there's no
This
talking you
captivity
into
feels
a
almost
traditional
normal.
wedding dress?
Strange, but
He
we have to
asked.
adapt.
We must
Not
find a way
today,
out.
Ambassador. Sarah
planet's
replied.
history has always
Today,
fascinated
I'm
us.
representing
Our
Earth
understanding
exactly
of
as
Xenon
I
incredibly
am.
fast.
Music began playing, a
What
blend of
causes our
human and
adaptability?
Valtorian
Your interest
instruments.
is mutual. It is
Sarah
a trait
walked
worth
down the
exploring
aisle,
together.
her armored
In this
boots
harsh
creating
world, we must
rhythmic
be
sounds
flexible yet
against the
stubborn
crystal
to
floor.
survive.
The
Predators,
crowd
disasters,
reacted
and we
with
adapt
gasps
without
and
breaking.
whispers, but this time Sarah ignored them. Her attention was on the tactical display showing heat signatures, movement patterns,
tactics
and
are
potential
impressive.
threats.
Staying
Kaiseth waited at the
here
altar in his
changes
royal
everything.
robes,
I'm glad
but
you think
Sarah
so.
noticed he wore
Combat
something
and
new,
biology reveal
a
a simple
ceremonial
truth.
armor
Position
piece
is here,
over his
no
chest,
granted. What is
made in the
truly
Valtorian style, a compromise between their two cultures. When their eyes met, he gave her a small nod. Ready, the High Chamberlain, who had recovered from his earlier fainting spell, began the ceremony. His voice carried through the cathedral, speaking words of unity and alliance. Sarah's sensors tracked every person in the room. She noted palace guards
This is
shifting
my
positions,
domain.
guests moving when they should be seated,
My guards arrived.
communication
Your kind is
signals
already
being
subdued.
sent on encrypted
Your
channels.
resistance is
Do you,
futile. We are
Prince
superior.
Kaiseth of Valtoria, accept this bond of unity? The High Chamberlain asked. I do, Kaiseth replied clearly.
Bleeding has
And do
stopped.
you, Commander Sarah Chen of
were
Earth,
brave. Rest
accept
now.
this bond of unity? Multiple threats
message says
activating
your armor is not
simultaneously.
inappropriate
Everyone
for a
down!
warrior bride.
Sarah shouted. The cathedral lights
fitting.
cut out. Emergency systems failed. Screams filled the darkness as confusion spread through the crowd. But Sarah's armor had independent power and night vision. She saw everything clearly. Thexus's forces moved with
Analyze
military
timing,
precision.
perfect cloaking,
They
military,
sealed
not
the
cheap.
cathedral exits,
Pattern spotted,
trapping
not
everyone
me.
inside. Palace guards revealed themselves as traitors, drawing weapons. Energy shields activated around the altar, designed to
Captain's report is
contain
in. The admiral's
Kaiseth,
motives
while
are
attackers
suspect.
closed in.
does it
But
say?
Sarah was
There's a hidden
already
purpose.
moving.
We must be
Her
ready.
armor's
We need
combat
to talk
systems engaged
privately.
with a
The
high-pitched
situation is
whine.
dire. We must
Shield
partner up.
generators
Time is
activated,
short.
creating a protective
balcony,
barrier
you see the
around
heart of our
her
civilization.
and Kaiseth.
It's
She drew her
magnificent.
sword
Please
with her
tell me.
right
Archives
hand,
hold the
while her
secret.
left arm's
My queen,
integrated
this
weapon
data is not
system
random.
powered up. Commander
Show me the
Zelfar,
evidence.
now,
Observe the precise
Kaiseth called into his
My
communication
skins
device.
Gramoran.
Loyal palace
But
guards
shut the
sprang into
consents,
action.
Granite.
The cathedral became a battlefield, with
Royal
two
codes
groups of
accepted.
Valtorian
Access.
forces
With
fighting
no
each
proof
other,
is confirmed.
while
The
terrified
hunt
guests
proceeds.
scrambled for cover.
The
Sarah's
patterns align.
Marines,
You are
positioned
recovering
throughout the
well,
cathedral,
thanks to you,
disguised as
Rest.
Earth's
Our
diplomatic
work is not
security,
yet done.
moved to protect civilians
Welcome,
and
human
engaged the
delegation.
conspirators.
We are
Sarah
honored, Your
fought like the
Majesty. Our
warrior she
purpose is to
was.
forge understanding.
Her armor
The
enhanced
alliance
her
is
strength
stronger
and
than ever.
speed. She
Indeed,
used the
this
cathedral's
celebration honors our
architecture to
unity.
her advantage.
May it
Crystal
endure.
pillars provided
Clean
cover.
shot.
The raised altar
No
platform
parents.
gave tactical
Texas,
high ground.
no.
And the
Report
ceremonial
devastate.
decorations became improvised weapons when needed. An attacker lunged at Kaiseth from behind. Sarah spun and blocked the
Gather
strike with
evidence.
her sword, then
Counter their
disabled the
strategy.
conspirator with
You
a
are the
precise
expert.
strike from her armor's stunning weapon.
Human. Our
Another
intel
came from the
shows
left,
allies will
and
counter at the
Kaiseth
wedding.
intercepted
We have
him with his
15 days
ancestor's
to prepare
blade,
this bait.
his own combat training evident in his movements. They fought back to back, protecting each other. Sarah's
Commander
technological
Zelfar, your gods
precision
have my
complemented
trust. 30
Kaiseth's
years of
traditional
loyalty
technique
bind us. We
perfectly.
stand
They
united.
moved together,
Unto
like they
this
had
bridge
trained
lift our
together for
lives.
years,
And-
instead of just weeks.
The Marine will
North
arrive
entrance
in 3
breach!
days.
Rodriguez's voice called through Sarah's communication system. Reinforcements incoming! Ours, not theirs.
presence here is
More
a scandal.
Earth Marines
It devastates
poured
the royal
into the
line.
cathedral.
We seek
The
only
tactical
peace. This
situation
chaos
shifted
seized it all.
rapidly. Texas's
You
conspirators found
underestimated
themselves
us.
surrounded by
You thought we were
superior
primitive, but
forces
you were
and failing
wrong.
equipment. Sarah had spent the
You
past week
underestimate
working
us.
with
We
Kaiseth
adapt,
to
we
identify
overcome,
their
we refuse
communication
defeat.
frequencies and plant interference systems throughout the cathedral. Sarah spotted Grand Admiral Thexus near the main entrance, trying to escape in the chaos.
Your
She
recovery is
activated
swift,
her
human.
armor's movement
to
assist
your
and
aid, my
covered the
queen.
distance in
Loyalty will be
seconds,
rewarded.
cutting off his path. It's
Behold
over,
the city of
Admiral,
tomorrow,
she said,
us as you
her
know.
armor speakers
incredible.
amplifying
We
her
must
voice.
be.
Thexus drew a weapon, his
Quiet,
skin flashing
afraid.
angry red. You primitive human, you have ruined everything.
I have
Valtoria
always
does
known
not
fear.
need your
It keeps
kind.
me sharp,
We were great
trained,
long
and
before
ready.
Earth even discovered fire. Maybe,
That's the first
Sarah
time I've laughed
replied
about
calmly.
that wedding.
But
Who knew
greatness in the
defending our
past
friendship be
doesn't
so funny?
excuse treachery in the present. You tried to murder your own prince. You betrayed your people. That's not greatness. That's cowardice.
Me too.
They served as fired.
Tomorrow
Sarah's
together.
shields absorbed the energy blast easily. She disarmed him with a precise strike and forced him to the ground. Loyal palace guards moved in to secure him. Within 20 minutes, the fighting ended. Thexus's conspirators were captured or surrendered. The cathedral lights came back online, revealing the damage. Scorch marks on crystal walls, broken decorations, overturned seats. But more importantly, it revealed that the civilians were safe.
Captain,
Not a
witness
single
our
innocent
civilization's
guest had
harmony.
been
From
seriously
this
injured.
balcony, our metropolis
The High
reflects our
Chamberlain
unity and
emerged
strength.
from behind a protective
Quiet.
barrier,
Copy that.
looking
Wait for
shaken
evidence.
but
Marian
determined.
Fireclash.
The ceremony, it was interrupted. Sarah
From
looked at
100 worlds, these
Kaiseth, who
blooms
stood
herald
beside
our
her,
dominion.
covered in
Their
dust
beauty
but
contrasts the
unharmed.
battle
They
we are
had
ready
fought
for.
together, trusted each
To
other
our
completely, and
And
won.
to vigilance.
Actually, Sarah said, removing her helmet and letting her hair
No,
fall
today as
free,
ambassador,
I
I
think
signed
we're
this
right where
traditional
we
dress
left
code.
off.
I am
You asked
watching
me a
over.
question, and I hadn't answered yet. The crowd, realizing the danger had passed, began to quiet down. Cameras, which had continued recording throughout the entire battle, focused on the altar. Kaiseth smiled, his skin
Chamberlain, you
shifting
have
to
the words
warm
of me.
gold.
My queen, our
Will you
alliance stands
marry
firm.
me, Sarah
We
Chen?
face this threat
Not
back to
because of
back.
politics
I
or
do bond
alliances
unity
or duty,
clear.
but because I choose you, and I hope you choose me. Sarah looked at the prince who had become her partner, her ally, her friend. She thought about duty and freedom,
The lights
about
have failed, but our power
expectations
endures.
and choices.
Our
Then she thought about
civilization's
how
independent
perfectly
and
they had
strong.
fought together, how well they understood each other, how much she had come to respect and care for him. Yes, she said clearly, I will. The High Chamberlain, despite everything, completed the ceremony. Sarah and Kaiseth spoke their vows in a cathedral
Zeltan
that
now.
smelled of battle smoke and looked like a war zone. It was completely inappropriate and
Loyal spring
absolutely
traitor
perfect.
straw.
What guests
When
come
the
around,
ceremony
remains to
concluded,
protect.
the guests
watch over
erupted
me.
in cheers, not just for the wedding, but for the courage both of them had shown. Sarah turned to Kaiseth, still wearing her battle armor, and smiled. So,
My thanks.
This is married life? With you, Kaiseth replied. I expect it will never be boring. The galaxy could not stop talking about the wedding. Video footage spread across every network. The armored
Rodriguez
human
breached.
bride fighting
Reinforcements,
conspirators
Marines,
at her
ours.
own ceremony. The Veltorian prince wielding
My
an
civilization
ancient
has
blade
endured
beside
for
her,
millennia.
and the
We
moment they
stand at the
completed their
precipice of
vows
victory.
in a
The tide has
battle-damaged
turned.
cathedral, Sarah Chen became famous overnight. Some called her the Armored Bride. Others
Your
called her
defiance
the
is amusing,
Warrior
human.
Princess.
But I
Earth's
won't
media
yield to you or
celebrated
your
her
empire.
as a hero
Then you
who
will
had saved an alliance
Your
and stopped
primitive
a
ways
coup.
ruined
Veltorian
Voltoria.
citizens,
That great fire
initially
started to
shocked
jag.
by her
We answered with
unconventional
fire.
approach, now praised her courage
Shields up,
and tactical
fire.
brilliance.
Your attack is futile.
But Sarah barely
Thanks for the
noticed
save.
the attention.
This isn't
She
over.
was too busy dealing with
Humanity
the
wants you to
aftermath.
calm
Grand
greatness,
Admiral
but treachery
Thexus and
and
his
cowardice
conspirators
have
faced
erased
trial
any
before
excuse
the
for your
Veltorian
past.
High Court. The evidence Sarah and Kaiseth had collected was overwhelming. Communications, financial
queen, the
records,
barrier is
testimonies from
How? It
captured
was
conspirators,
I know not, but we
everything
are
pointed to a
exposed.
planned
Then we
coup
act.
that would
The
have
dust
thrown
is
the
settling.
empire
We
into
fought and
chaos.
we won.
The verdict
We
is
trusted each other.
unanimous,
That's how we
the Chief
proved it.
Justice announced on the seventh
Your
day of
world
the
is
trial.
beautiful, but why so
Grand
many?
Admiral
show
Thexus,
you our
you are
harmony
found
beyond
guilty
your
of treason, conspiracy to commit murder, and crimes against the crown. You are stripped of all rank and title and sentenced to lifetime imprisonment.
My choice
Sarah
is you.
watched from the gallery,
marry for
sitting
love and
beside
hope,
Kaiseth.
not duty.
His skin showed calm blue.
Duty
Justice
or-
had been served. It
Through
is
care,
finished,
we find our
Kaiseth
shared
said
purpose.
quietly. My parents can finally feel safe
Human,
again.
yes,
the
I will.
Emperor and Empress
Our
had
fates
been
are now
shaken
one.
by how close they had come to losing their son.
The
They
vows
had
are
personally
complete.
thanked
Despite
Sarah,
this war zone, our
acknowledging that
alliance is
without her
perfect and
military
unyielding.
expertise and suspicious nature, the conspiracy might have succeeded. What happens now? Sarah asked. Now, Kaiseth said with a smile. We figure out how to actually be married. That proved to be complicated in ways Sarah had not
never are
expected.
boring.
She was still a commander
promise
in
you.
Earth's military. Kaiseth was still the heir to an empire.
I vow to
Their
protect
responsibilities pulled them in different
As you
directions,
have
and neither wanted to give up who they were.
Day 7.
They made it
the Chief
work by
Justice is
creating
ruled guilty
something
of
new.
treason. Your life is
Sarah
set.
became
This is
Earth's
closure.
first permanent military liaison to the Veltorian Empire. She kept her rank and her duties, but now she worked to
This
coordinate
document
defense
details our joint
strategies
evolution.
between the two worlds.
Hostile
evidence
Her
is
office
clear.
was
How
in
do
the
we begin?
palace,
Clear.
but she reported to Earth's military command.
To our
Kaiseth
shared
used his
future.
position to
To
push for
friendship
real
across
cultural
worlds.
exchange programs. Not just diplomatic
We must plan a
ceremonies and
joint
formal
exercise
meetings,
on Earth and
but
Veltor.
actual sharing of
A year ago,
knowledge,
but now our
technology,
alliance will
and
thrive.
ideas. He established the Institute for Human Veltorian Studies, where scientists from both worlds could work together. Look at this,
disaster to
Kaiseth
anger
said
and
one
fear
evening,
to
showing
friendship.
Sarah a research
A choice
proposal,
to stop
a
and
joint
create.
project to study evolutionary adaptation.
I'm so glad we did
Human
this.
and Veltorian biologists working together to understand how species survive in hostile environments. Sarah read through the document and smiled. Your people are finally seeing humans as partners, not primitives. Others still have doubts. But after the
I
wedding,
commend this
those doubts
alliance
carry
between
less
our
weight.
worlds. But to survive,
Kaiseth's
we must
skin
adapt.
shifted to
Together,
an
we will
amused
prevail.
gold. It is hard to call humans primitive when one of them defeated a military coup wearing ceremonial armor.
Have
The
you
wedding
considered
itself had
over these
changed
weeks
something
if humanity's
fundamental
strength
in
is
how the
real?
galaxy viewed
I have.
humanity. Before,
This alliance
humans were
confused
seen
me.
as aggressive
Our
newcomers,
stubbornness could turn this
strong
marriage of
but
empires into
crude.
disaster.
Now they were recognized for their adaptability,
surprise me.
their tactical thinking,
So
and their
stubborn.
refusal to be
You brought me
limited by
joy.
expectations. Other species
You are
began
not like
requesting
us.
human security
We are each
consultants.
other now.
Earth's
Then we are
military
together.
academies received applications from alien
Behold the
students
stars,
wanting to
Veltor.
learn
They
human
shine for our
combat
new
doctrine.
alliance.
And for the
The
peace we
Veltorian
built, my
Empire
friend.
modernized its own military strategies, incorporating lessons learned from Sarah's approach to the cathedral battle. We are influencing each other, Kaiseth observed. Veltorians are learning to think more flexibly. Humans are learning patience and long-term planning from us. Isn't that what a good marriage should be?
Honor and
Sarah
ceremony are the
replied, both
pillars of our
partners making each
civilization.
other better.
Without them,
6 months
remember
after the
this,
wedding,
human.
they held a second private ceremony on Earth. Sarah's family and military friends gathered in a small chapel in Colorado, where she had grown up. This time, Sarah wore a simple dress, and Kaiseth wore Earth-style formal
alliance
clothing.
of our worlds.
No cameras,
To our
no
enduring
political
friendship.
May
pressure,
it bring
no
prosperity
assassination
to all.
attempts.
To peace.
Just two people celebrating their choice to be together. Sarah's mother cried and hugged Kaiseth, welcoming him to the family.
The sacred
Her
union
father,
hits
a
hard.
retired Marine himself,
Cold blood
shook the
peaks in
prince's
this
hand
moment.
and said, "You take care of my
channels are
daughter, or
failing.
you'll
This is
answer
your
to
fault.
me,
My
fault. You're
royal
the one who
or
ignored
not."
the warning.
Kaiseth,
Blame later.
his
We
skin
must fix
showing
this now.
respectful
I'm trying.
purple, replied seriously, "Sir, your daughter saved my life and my world. I promise to honor her every day." The celebration was loud, warm, and chaotic. Everything a Veltorian ceremony was not. Kaiseth loved it. "This is wonderful," he told Sarah as her cousins dragged him onto the dance floor. "Everyone is so freaking dog. Enthusiastic welcome.
Your
Welcome
challenge
to
ends
humanity,"
now.
Sarah laughed. "We
Incredible
don't do
precision.
anything halfway." A year after
By
their
these
first
vows, our
meeting,
worlds
Sarah
unite
and
in peace.
Kaiseth stood
The friendship
together
and
reviewing
alliance
star
forged in
charts
trust.
in their shared office. They were planning a joint military exercise between Earth and Veltorian forces, something that would have been impossible before the alliance.
I
"Do you
must
ever
maintain
regret
the
it?"
courage.
Kaiseth asked suddenly. "The choice was taken from you initially. You were forced into this situation." Sarah thought about it honestly. She remembered her
Our
anger
mission
at
is
being
partnership.
manipulated, her fear of
Civilizations
losing
past
her
scientific
autonomy,
with courage,
her
we will
determination
adapt
to
and
escape
prevail.
the arranged marriage.
Stubborn
Then she thought
pace
about
starts
everything that
disaster.
had happened
Real
since.
marriage
The
reduces
friendship they had
change.
built, the conspiracy they had stopped, the life they were
Stubborn
creating
human.
together. "The beginning was wrong,"
I am
she said
grateful for your
finally.
star.
The mistranslation, the
Stars
assumption that
shine,
I would just
mistake,
go
choice,
along with it,
difference, or
all of
fate.
that was
Yes.
wrong. But what
Perfect
we
then.
built from that disaster, that was our choice. We chose to give each other a chance. We chose to work together. We chose to complete those vows even after the fighting stopped. "I am glad we did," Kaiseth said softly. "Me too." They returned to their work, planning exercises and reviewing proposals. Outside their window, ships from Earth and Veltoria flew side by side on patrol routes. The alliance was real now, built on genuine respect and proven trust. Sarah's battle armor eventually went to a museum, displayed next to Kaiseth's wedding robes and the evidence from Thexus's trial. The exhibit was called "The Armored Bride: When Duty Became Choice." Millions of visitors came to see it every year. But before the armor was placed in the museum, Sarah wore it one final time, to a military ceremony where she received commendations from both Earth and Veltoria for her service. She stood in front of assembled forces from both worlds, the armor gleaming under the lights, and gave a speech about alliance, trust, and the courage to adapt. "I came to Veltoria expecting a mission," she told the crowd. "I found a partnership instead, not just with Prince Kaiseth, but with an entire civilization willing to see past their assumptions about humanity. That is the real victory. Not the battle we won, but the understanding we built." The audience erupted in applause. Sarah saw Kaiseth in the front row, his skin showing proud gold, and she smiled. Later that evening, in their private quarters, Kaiseth asked her a question he had been considering for weeks. "Sarah, what do you think humanity's greatest strength really is?" Sarah thought about everything she had experienced, the confusion, the danger, the adaptation, the victory. "Stubbornness," she said finally. "We show up ready for war and stay for love. We turn impossible situations into unexpected victories. We refuse to accept that things can't change, can't improve, can't be different than expected. That stubbornness has carried us from caves to starships. And apparently, it can turn a diplomatic disaster into a real marriage. Kaiseth laughed, a sound that still surprised and delighted Sarah with its warmth. Then I am grateful for human stubbornness, he said. It brought you to me. It brought us to each other, Sarah corrected, taking his hand. Outside their window, stars shone across the night sky. Human stars and Veltorian stars, all visible from the palace where a warrior and a prince had built something new together. The wedding might have started as a mistake, but the marriage was absolutely their choice. And that made all the difference. The end.